On 30 April 1943, a fisherman off the Spanish coast found a dead British officer floating in the sea. A briefcase was chained to the man's waist. Inside were letters marked secret. They appeared to reveal where the Allies would strike next. The body was real. The officer was not. His name, rank, romance, possessions, and military mission had all been invented. British intelligence had constructed an entire human life around a corpse, then placed that corpse where German spies were expected to find it. The plan sounded like something from a particularly reckless spy novel. It became Operation Mincemeat. By early 1943, the Allies had defeated Axis forces across much of North Africa. Their next major objective was Sicily. The island offered a path into Italy, threatened Mediterranean shipping routes, and stood so obviously in the Allies' path that Winston Churchill reportedly compared its visibility to a man wearing a brightly colored sign. That was the problem. Germany knew Sicily was the logical target. The Allies needed to make the obvious appear unlikely. They began constructing a wider deception, suggesting that Greece and Sardinia were the real objectives. One proposal was exceptionally strange. British intelligence would obtain a human body, dress it as a military courier, and place false invasion plans in its possession. The body would then wash ashore in a country where German intelligence could secretly examine the documents. The corpse could not look murdered. It needed to resemble a man killed in an aircraft accident at sea. The body also had to survive long enough to be discovered without looking as if it had spent weeks in storage. Finding the right dead man required the cooperation of London coroner Bentley Purchase. The man eventually selected was Glyndwr Michael, a 34-year-old Welshman who had died in London after ingesting rat poison containing phosphorus. The circumstances of Michael's death remain uncertain. Some accounts describe suicide. Others suggest that he may have consumed the poison accidentally. The surviving evidence does not establish his intention with confidence. In life, Michael had experienced poverty and homelessness. In death, British intelligence made him an officer of the Royal Marines. His invented name was Captain William Martin, temporarily holding the rank of acting major. But a name and uniform would not be enough. A real person leaves evidence behind. Receipts accumulate. Relationships create letters. Keys, tickets, bills, and small annoyances gather inside pockets. The planners therefore created what intelligence officers called wallet litter, the ordinary debris of a believable life. Major Martin carried keys, cigarettes, stamps, matches, and money. He had an identity card and membership documents. He also had an overdraft notice from a bank, suggesting that even fictional officers could have financial problems. There was evidence of romance, too. A young woman named Jean Leslie provided a photograph in which she appeared as Martin's invented fiancée, Pam. A tender letter from Pam accompanied the photograph. So did a receipt for an engagement ring. These objects were not the mission's central deception. They existed to make the central deception feel human. The briefcase contained letters written by real senior officers. Their language was deliberately informal, allowing false military information to appear inside apparently private correspondence. The documents suggested that Allied forces planned to attack Greece and Sardinia. Sicily was presented as a diversion. For the deception to work, the Germans had to discover the information without believing it had been offered to them. Spain was officially neutral, but German intelligence maintained extensive contacts there. The planners selected the coast near Huelva, where they believed sympathetic officials might allow German agents access to the briefcase. Major Martin could not simply be thrown from a British ship in view of the coast. The submarine HMS Seraph carried the body from Britain inside a specially constructed container packed with dry ice. The crew was told that the container held secret meteorological equipment. Shortly before dawn on 30 April, the submarine surfaced offshore. The commanding officer, Lieutenant Norman Jewell, revealed the true nature of the mission to a small group. The body was removed from its container. A life jacket was fitted. The briefcase was secured to the corpse. Jewell read part of the burial service. Then Glyndwr Michael, now dressed as Major William Martin, was committed to the sea. The current carried him toward Spain. Later that morning, fisherman José Antonio Rey Maria found the body. Spanish authorities recovered it, examined it, and buried Major Martin with military honors in Huelva. Now the British had to behave as though the documents were genuinely important. Officials sent urgent messages requesting the return of the briefcase. These requests were made conspicuous enough for German interception. The apparent anxiety helped advertise the document's value. Yet the British could not know whether anyone had opened them. When the briefcase returned, the letters still looked sealed. Specialists examined the envelopes. Subtle physical evidence indicated that the papers had been removed, copied, and replaced. German intelligence had taken the bait. Intercepted communications later confirmed that the false information had traveled through German channels. Adolf Hitler treated the supposed threat to Greece as credible. German defensive attention was strengthened in Greece, Sardinia, and the Balkans. Forces that might have been available elsewhere were repositioned or retained to meet attacks that were not coming. Operation Mincemeat did not deceive Germany by itself. It formed one part of a much larger Allied deception effort, nor did it leave Sicily undefended. German and Italian troops still fought fiercely when the invasion began, but the corps helped reinforce the story that Sicily was not the principal target. On 10 July 1943, Allied forces landed in Sicily. The invasion was enormous. Ships, aircraft, paratroopers, and ground forces converged on the island. Difficult weather disrupted parts of the operation, and the campaign that followed was neither easy nor bloodless. But the strategic surprise had worked sufficiently well. Even after the landings began, Hitler remained concerned that they might be a diversion preceding the expected attack elsewhere. The Allies captured Sicily after weeks of fighting. The campaign contributed to the collapse of Benito Mussolini's government and opened the route into mainland Italy. Back in Britain, the success of the deception was reported with a fishing metaphor: mincemeat swallowed rod, line, and sinker. It was an irresistible conclusion, but it concealed the uncomfortable person at the center of the operation. For decades, the public knew the dead officer mainly as the man who never was. Ewen Montagu, one of Mincemeat's principal planners, used that phrase as the title of his post-war account. Yet the corpse had belonged to someone. Glyndwr Michael had parents, a childhood, and a life before poverty carried him to London. Intelligence officers erased that identity because the deception depended upon another one. His grave in Huelva originally honored Major William Martin. Michael's real name was added decades later. The grave now preserves both identities: the invented officer who fooled German intelligence and the forgotten Welshman whose body made the invention believable. Operation Mincemeat succeeded because its planners understood something unsettling about evidence. A secret document alone might look suspicious. A secret document beside unpaid bills, used tickets, personal keys, and a lover's photograph looked like an accident. The Germans were not persuaded by one magnificent lie. They were persuaded by dozens of ordinary details. The operation's greatest weapon was therefore not the corpse, the submarine, or even the false invasion plan. It was a carefully manufactured human life. And behind that manufactured life was a real man, almost erased so that a fictional man could change history.